There are a couple of truisms in sales that you need to keep in mind as you go forward, right? The first thing is people buy from people, not companies. It's about relationships, not branding, right? So relationships are with people. Branding is what a company does. And so people buy from people, not companies. And these people, they want to buy from those they know, like, and trust. They need to be able to know, like, and trust you before they buy from you. And social selling is the best way to help the most people know, like, and trust you at the same time, right? Think about it. If you had a meeting and you begin to build that know, like, and trust, imagine if you go give a talk at an audience of 100 people or something. Now you got 100 people kind of knowing and liking and trusting you from one event, one thing that you're doing together. Now imagine on social selling. I want to give you an example so you really understand where you and your company can go with social selling by using some of my own statistics, right? And so just keep this in mind and think about this being your own company. And these are real statistics. Every day I get a few thousand views on my content. All of my content is GovCon related, and most of those views are from GovCon related people. So every day I get a few thousand views on the content. Every week, the GovCon Chamber of Commerce shows up in search results over 2,000 times. What this means is if somebody is searching for a company like ours or what we do, so say they search for sales or government contracting or federal market, things like that, and sometimes some off topics, right? But 2,000 times a week, we come up in search results. And imagine if we're only getting like 5% of that audience, that's still a huge amount of people. Imagine if 5 or 10 or 50 people a week are finding your company because they wanted to find a company like yours, right? That's really good stuff. And so every week we're coming up in search results 2,000 times. Every 90 days, more than 2,000 people view my profile. And this is really important because every 90 days, what it means is 2,000 people are clicking on my profile in LinkedIn to see my LinkedIn profile. And they're seeing my messaging. They're seeing what I'm trying to communicate that I do or that my organization does. They're seeing the most important content that I want to share out there. And I'll talk a little bit about that going forward. But every 90 days, 2,000 people. So, imagine that out. 8,000 people are coming in and looking at my profile. And then every 12 months, our content, all the content that we put out is viewed over 2 million times. And this is on a lot of different platforms, right? But primarily on LinkedIn, right here on what I'm going to talk about. We're on YouTube and I got a ton of videos out there, but I've got almost no views on a regular basis out there because that's not our market. Our views, the 2 million views a year, are coming in primarily through LinkedIn. And YouTube, I'd love to get more views out there, but it's not a big deal to me because I'm trying to reach my audience. And apparently my audience is on LinkedIn. And I want to convince you that if you're selling into the federal market, your audience is in there as well. But if your company had the same results as I have on a daily, a weekly, a quarterly, or an annual basis that I just described, right? How would that help you? How would that help your company if you had those kind of statistics? It's nothing magic that I did. It's just a process in social media, and it's something I want to talk to you about today. And so that's what we're going to talk about as it's related to how LinkedIn can help you find federal buyers, or more importantly, attract federal buyers to you. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. A process goes from A to Z. And when we follow the process, a proven process, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results. And that's what I want for you. It's why I do this training. Before we get started, I highly recommend you help buyers remember who you are. Put your company name into the chat, 2 or 3 words to describe your core competency. I'll tell you a quick little story. I was talking with somebody this morning thinking about coming onto our BD Accelerator workshop. And part of what they were saying is my core competency is this. And they were able to say like GIS and systems integration, which just in my head, it clicked. I'm like, I got it. I know what those are. I'm moving forward. And they said to me, yeah, that's what you say every day in your training. You tell us to put it in. And so we've really come down with what our core competencies are in some keywords. And that's what I want you to put in chat. So people like me, the buyers and others in the community find it easy to remember what you do. Finally, I wanted to say thank you to the sustaining members of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. We're not funded by the government or large prime contractors. We're self-funded. We're funded by people like you and me, and we make these trainings possible for all small businesses across the country. So on their behalf, I just wanted to say thank you. Okay, so let's get started with how LinkedIn helps government contractors find federal buyers, or how you can get federal buyers to find you, by talking about social selling and what that is. Right? Basically, social selling is using social media platforms to reach your buyers and teammates, or to allow them to reach you when they're ready, when they're looking. It's about engaging in dialogue online instead of in person, right? I told you I spent decades selling, various different ways selling, but almost all of my career selling involved having to go meet the buyer face to face going in. And the last 10 years, they've been able to do a little bit more research, but before that, they really couldn't even research what they wanted to buy because there was no real way to research it. And so they needed salespeople like me to come in and talk to them about it. Social selling is not just about how I can reach the buyers, but it's how the buyers can do their research. They go on the web, they'll go to the internet and look at blogs, they'll look at your website, et cetera. They'll go on social media platforms like LinkedIn, and they're able to kind of learn and start understanding the requirements better, begin to see who's doing it out there. We talk about you becoming a supreme or a subject matter expert. I want to talk about that in a second. But it's about having this dialogue online, getting it started. And remember, I said in the beginning, people buy from those they know, like, and trust. Well, social media enables you to reach so many more people. So many more people can know you before you're even aware that they know you. I've had people talk to me and say, I've been watching your stuff, Neil, for a couple of years now. I'm like, really? Why didn't you knock on my virtual door and say hi? But I celebrate the fact that they did, and I'm glad they did. But that's how it works, right? And it enables them to move at their pace, not my pace. Another thing about social selling is it makes it so easy for you to demonstrate your subject matter expertise. I share information out. You know that I'm an expert in that I share information related to government contracting, in particular, sales within government contracting, right? And so by looking at my content, by looking at the information I share, these trainings that I do, you can make your own determination whether you begin to trust that this guy knows what he's talking about. Well, I want that same thing for you. I want people to see you as the subject matter expert that you are, whether it's in elevators or in GIS, like I talked about earlier, right? Whatever it is, you need to let people know that you're a subject matter expert. You don't do that by saying, I'm a subject matter expert, but you do that by sharing information out there. And so social selling enables you to share it pretty much freely. LinkedIn is free, right? Pretty much freely and broadly. You don't have to worry about printing out a flyer and getting it to people. You just put it out and you can share a lot, and people will find you at their own convenience, at their own time. We like to call it, we say subject matter expert, but Gus pushed this term into me and into our world, where we are positioning ourselves to be supreme domain authorities. And that's what I want for you. I want people to see you as a supreme domain authority on your topic. It's the same thing as saying subject matter expert, except for you're really being proactive of making sure these people can see it. The documents you might share, an ebook or a blog or a comment, the way you engage, if you do videos, all of it is around one particular core competency, one area. And when you do that, you're seen as a supreme domain authority, the subject matter expert that gives them the confidence, makes you a trusted advisor to them. And then they want to invite you in. Buyers will want to invite you in. So I talked about people buy from those they know, like, and trust. And when you do social selling, part of social selling is just being engaged out there. It doesn't mean you're actually having meetings yet. But when you're engaged in social media platforms and you're engaged in social selling the way I'm going to describe a little bit, you're able to build that, help people begin to know, like, and trust you, right? You're doing that before they ever call you. They're watching you. They're learning about you. They're learning about your company. They're starting to know you. They're aware of your company. And then they start trusting you, right? Because they trust the content and they see some piece of advice. It's like, wow, that was good advice. Wow, that second piece of advice was good advice. You're building the trust, and they start liking you because the way you're delivering it is in a way that they want to receive it. Not everybody is going to like me. Not everybody's going to like you, right? So the people who are most likely to do that are going to be able to know, like, and trust you before you ever have a first call, before you ever pick up the phone to try to schedule a meeting, before you ever have that first meeting. You'll have made a great first impression. This is something to keep in mind, is that social selling gives you something that I could never have in my career before as a salesperson. Is you couldn't really build a first impression until you met somebody. Here, I can build first impressions all day long for years before somebody actually meets with me. And when they meet, they've already established that they know, like, and trust me, that they have a good first impression. I don't have to make a first impression because I've been using social selling, building that credibility with them through the years, right? So those are some things to think about what social selling is. I just want to go into the platforms for a second here. There's 6 platforms I want to talk about. And the reason is because none of them are important except for LinkedIn. So I'll come down to that, except for one. One comes in as an honorable mention. But just talking about what the platforms are really quick. Facebook. Facebook is for sharing photos and videos about kittens, and it's for grandma to use. It just is. The minute the younger generations are bailing on things, that social media platform's gone. Just accept it. Facebook is kittens and grandmas. Twitter's out there. Twitter is all about talk, not about listening. If you go into Twitter, you will see everybody was willing to talk, but no one is listening. There's no true dialogue. There's arguing sometimes, but never true dialogue. It's not built for that. In fact, Twitter, when it first started, right, most people were sharing pictures of their food or something. Instagram, right? If you're a Kardashian, perfect, use it. If you're not, get out of there. I see government people sometimes using Instagram. I'm like, what are you thinking? Like, that's not the place. It is the place, by the way, for the Army if they want to recruit 18-year-olds. Maybe Instagram's the right place to go, or whatever version of that. But it's not for federal sales, for sure. TikTok, stay away from it. TikTok is a cool app, but it's China-owned, right? Why on earth would the federal market ever be in there? It's not going to be in there. The government is talking about banning it from the entire country. They've already rolled out these policies about banning it from any government device. So just stay out of TikTok. Yes, of course you could use it. Yes, of course you might reach people, but that's not where your buyers are. If you're a person like me, maybe you go out there because there's just people out there. But if you're trying to reach teammates like Booz Allen or Northrop Grumman or small businesses that are equivalent, if you're trying to reach the Army or USDA, they're not on those 4 types of platforms. The last one I wanted to mention, this gets honorable mention, of course, I think you should use it, is YouTube, right? I'm on YouTube right now at the moment live, but YouTube is about videos only, right? It's a great search engine for people coming in and looking at a particular topic. They can learn from you. Think of it like a blog, but there's no engagement. All they can do is come in and at best comment. When I'm on YouTube responding to comments, I'm always telling people, hey, come on over to LinkedIn so I can get you whatever you want. So we can continue the dialogue, so we can build a relationship. There are no relationships in YouTube. YouTube is a great tool, and I think it's still solidly a tool that's necessary for companies, but don't think of it as a social selling tool so much as a repository of information. Definitely necessary. So where do you want to be? Right here on LinkedIn. Unless, of course, you're on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, where I'm restreaming. All of you, come on over to LinkedIn. This is where the community is. This is where you can meet with buyers, right? This is where you will begin to see buyers engaged on LinkedIn. They're not engaged on those other platforms. And so the idea that people used to have with LinkedIn is that it was a resume place where you go to get jobs. That's fine, but it was still always for where professionals went to be seen. The old way of looking at it is that's where we went to put our resume and maybe we're trying to get a job or something, right? The new way, and when I say new, it's like for the last few years, LinkedIn is built up to be a community. It's a place where the dialogue can happen. All you have to do is look at my profile and go in and look at some of the stuff I engage, like I engage with senior agency leaders or people who engage on my content. There's engagement back and forth, there's discussion. It enables that, and we all are sticking pretty much to the federal market space, right? The people in my community, my network, are around GovCon. And so that's where it's at. So when you think about the LinkedIn platforms, get rid of all of the rest except for YouTube and LinkedIn. And YouTube is great for video content to be able to continue to demonstrate your subject matter expertise. But LinkedIn is where you do social selling and build relationships. And so if you're tracking on this, right, put social selling into the chat if you're ready to use the 2023 method to reach buyers, not a 1989 method. So just put social selling in there. Let me know you're tracking on that. And I want to go in and talk about how you can make your profile ready to attract buyers. So this training today is not about how to have the best profile out there, right? I've got a whole separate course on that. I don't sell it. It's part of the, I don't know if it's part of the sustaining membership yet, but we might consider just putting it in there. But we have a course built for it that walks through exactly how to really make your profile rock. But I want to just point out some things you need to be looking at today on your LinkedIn profile and your company page profile to ensure your LinkedIn profiles are attracting buyers and teammates. When they go searching and looking, they want to be able to find you. So I'm just going to go through 6 things on your profile that sit at the very top. And then I'm going to show you really quick in LinkedIn what it looks like. The first thing is your name and your URL. The one thing I want to say about your name, most important thing is if everybody calls you Jim, don't put James into the profile. That's putting friction between you and the people you want to talk to. This is not a legal document. Just put Jim, put Jimmy, if whatever the name is that most people call you. And don't be one of those people that says, oh, whatever's fine. That's not true. Which is the common name that people call you? Because that is building a relationship, right? You care about making sure that people start where they're going to end up, right? The common name they would call you. The second thing that goes with that is on your name, don't put all the extra stuff. And I'm a little nervous because I got some really close friends who are, got a lot of extra stuff around their name, but you're putting too much friction. Just put your first and last name. Just make it really easy for people to see it. And I'll show you in a minute why. Because when you go to other places, it'll crowd it if you try to put too many extra things after your name. It's not necessary because if you have a good name and a good headline, which we'll talk about in a minute, then that tells everybody what they need to be able to see more or learn more about you. The last thing I want to mention related to your name is the URL. Look up in your LinkedIn profile and does it say, / Neil McDonald, or does it say, / Neil - McDonald numbers, or does it just say numbers, right? You want it to have no dashes or anything because it screws up searching for you. Just put in solid letters, first name, last name, smushed together, if you can have that, right? If you can't have that, just put your company name at the end of your personal name, but have a URL that's fairly short and easy to see so that people understand it. The next thing on your LinkedIn profile is your headline. It's right below your name. And in there, you want it to be able to say what your company does. So an example of what my headline at the moment says is my name is Neil McDonald. And right below that, it says, we help small business government contractors win federal contracts by following a proven process, right? Really simple headline. You want to be able to have something similar to that. You don't want to have CEO, president, business developer, proposal manager, whatever. That doesn't tell anybody about you, and it doesn't pull people into your profile. When they see that, they don't dislike you. They just don't have any reason to click on it. Like, all right, proposal manager. But if they see something like we're the #1 proposal management shop or whatever, right? It's enough to evoke interest and make me want to click on your profile. Going with that, right when people land on your profile, you have a banner. That banner should say something that's interesting. So don't leave it blank. Try not to make it so confusing. Some picture like I used to have on mine. I hope I don't have it anymore, but I used to have on mine a open ocean with a sailboat on it because I wish I was sailing, right? But it didn't help what we were trying to do. And so the banner is real estate. It's like a big billboard outside your office. That banner, when the people land and they see GIS and system integration, they go, oh, no kidding. Let me move my eyes down the profile because that has attracted my attention. That's what I thought I was going to find when I clicked on your profile. Below your name and the headline, you have your picture. It might be above it, but your profile picture. Make sure your profile picture is professional. You don't have to work hard at this. My profile picture, I think, is from a video I recorded and somebody on my team snipped it and we went, hey, that looks good. Let's put that in, right? Could I get a professional picture? Yeah, I'd love to do that, but I'm too lazy. But having a professional picture just looks that way. Don't make it, you're not trying to put friction in. You don't want people to look and get confused on it. So don't have couple pictures where you have a bunch of friends next to you or something. Just you. People are trying to see, here's the person, their name, and here's their picture, and I know who they are. Okay, last 2 sections on your profile that are really important are the featured section. So you have to turn on creator mode, I think, in LinkedIn. And when you do, you can have this featured section. And basically, as you come down, it's the first thing people see. And you want them to be able to see your capability statement is the first thing I would see. And you can have 3 main spots. You can have a whole bunch of featured, but only 3 show up in the beginning. And so you want something that talks about it shows your capability statement, maybe your capability briefing deck, and maybe a white paper to something related to GIS. That's going to be my example today. So featured section, because when they come in, This drives them to your most important marketing assets, and your capability statement is the first most important thing you want them to find so they can quickly understand who you are. As you come down, there's two sections. Basically, they're configured the same when I do it. The about section on your profile and the experience section for your company. Basically, what I do is I regurgitate the capability statement information and the information from my dynamic small business search profile. I regurgitate that in there. I'm not trying to tell some narrative about me and kids. I'm trying to tell you that I'm good with government contracting. And hey, here's some of my experience, or hey, here's my core competencies. Here's some customers we've helped. Here's how to reach me, et cetera. So those are just some of the fields in your profile that if you get them filled out completely, when somebody sees you in commenting or engaging out there on LinkedIn, which I'll talk about in a minute, they'll come over to your profile, and you want your profile to begin to help them know you as a subject matter expert. On your company page, it's just a quick duplication of what I talked about. The banner needs to be, I recommend a company banner, and then everybody uses the same banner for the individual profiles. The about section, same as the personal. Basically, here's the capability statement turned into words and turned into bullets. Here's what we do. Here's who we support, right? Our core competencies, maybe some of our differentiators in there, et cetera. And then the last thing is links. You want some links that send people out. You want them to go to your company page, right? If somebody lands on your company profile within LinkedIn, you want to have a link, or there's a button at the top. You want them to be able to go right to your company website. If you're primarily in the government space and you've got a government page or about us on your website, consider sending them right to that. So instead of your main landing page, send them to the about, or send them to a government capabilities page on your website. Whatever it is, think about it. Don't just put your main website, put your best page that government buyers, market researchers should land on. Let me just share really quick. I just want to share this one tip about, let's see if I can find this. I think I'm sharing it correctly. Hopefully I am. But the idea is, I just did this post today, right? And this came out a couple hours ago. And in here, it's a FEMA strategy, 2023. They just released it recently, which is great, right? And so the thing I wanted to show you is right here. When I talk about using a headline, right? Look at Juliet's, where you write to win, proposal writing, copywriting. Mine, I already told you about, right? Here's Nino, right? Founder of the OSD, Office of Secretary of Defense Partnership. So he's got a little extra stuff in there. And as you come down, right? The point is, you want people to see something in here that helps draw them to you. And this is real estate. This is why I'm saying, don't put in proposal manager, et cetera. You want to be able to put in other information. It's funny. So there's my sister, by the way, Cecilia, big fan of all of you and helping us. Down here, lead account management, relationship management, enterprise solution sales. This is talking about what Leslie does, right? And so when you can put information in there, what I recommend is things like, if you do GIS, et cetera, then you want to be, let me just find my stop sharing. Oh, I feel like it didn't share. But when you put that information in, you want it to talk a little bit about your core competency and who you help. So keep that in mind. Last thing I just want to share with you on social selling is just how to do it, right? Social selling doesn't have to be complicated. It can go from the 101 level to the 201, 301, 401 level. You can get more advanced, but start at the beginning level if you're not doing a lot. So the first step of social selling is to begin to engage other people, right? After you have your profile looking good, so that if somebody comes and looks at you, they're able to learn more about you, see you as a subject matter expert, maybe go visit your website, et cetera. When you have that good to go, come out into LinkedIn and begin to follow people and agency pages. And so individuals' profiles, I might follow an agency CIO or a CISO. I might follow a director of this thing. I might follow a business developer from Booz Allen. Whoever it is that you're trying to build relationships with, begin to follow those people and hit the bell notification, which allows you to be notified when they post something on LinkedIn or when they engage with something on LinkedIn, so that you're able to come back to them and get relationships. Agency pages, if you're trying to sell to the Navy and NAVSEA, for example, NAVSEA has a page, you can follow that page. When they post information, you're able to get access, you're able to hear about it right away and begin to engage. But it begins with you following these people and these companies on LinkedIn. So that's the first step of social selling, is follow them so you can be notified. The second thing, going with what I just said there, is engage in the content, right? So if somebody posts a piece of content, like I just shared one, you can engage with the content I did, or you could look at some of the people. When I post content, I always try to put people's names in there. So I shared something about FEMA and I put somebody's name. Well, if you follow that through and you go back to go to this FEMA site on LinkedIn, you can find people in there and engage with that content. So it's really important to just get out there, and engagement just means a thumbs up. It means commenting, sharing it. You can repost that to your own profile. But one way or another, when you do this, the person who posted the content is aware that you're doing this. And by following somebody, by engaging with the content, you are engaging with them as if you picked up the phone and called them without ever having to worry about that first call yet, that cold call. So it's a really soft, warm call, and it's social selling when you follow, when you engage. And the last thing is, you want to make sure you're posting your own content, right? You want to be seen as a subject matter expert. One way is to comment on other content, as it relates to being an expert. So if you're a GIS expert and you see something on GIS and you comment, people are seeing your comment is coming from a subject matter expert. But you also want to post your own content. You can do it like I do, where you brainstorm different topics and then put it out there. You can also share content from like I got a customer who works with Amazon Web Services, so AWS. If AWS puts out a white paper, they could share that white paper out and summarize it a little bit like I just did FEMA, right? And so you can share content out, but you want to follow this rule of making sure that the content you share is only relevant to what you want to be seen for as a subject matter expert. Don't fall prey to sharing all sorts of random content, because what you do is you distract somebody like me who might want to follow you because I think you're an expert. But if I see all this stuff that's unrelated, I'm like, well, I'm out of here because I don't care about all this other stuff. So I'm going to get out of here and I'll go find somebody else who's only posting content related to GIS, for example. Hopefully that made sense there. Social selling, it's a modern approach and tool that should be in your sales box, right? So don't ignore it because you think you know all about social media or because you're afraid of social media. Just get engaged. When you start doing social selling, buyers and teammates are going to begin to know, like, and trust you. And remember, people buy from those they know, like, and trust. And that can begin really heavily with social selling. If you find value in my trainings, become a sustaining member today. If your company's already making money and you want to get help to go to the next level, consider our 90-day BD Accelerator workshop. You just ping me on LinkedIn and I can talk to you about it. And remember, government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process. Social selling is just a process. I'll see you in the next training.